Hey, Aubrey, what's going on?
I am great. How are you, Lindsay?
Good. You have any fun plans? Doing anything fun this weekend?
Yes, I'm headed to Rocky Point, Mexico. This is one of our favorite family travel destinations, close to Phoenix, very kid friendly. I can't wait.
Oh, that's amazing. That sounds so fun. I hope you have a great little trip. Sounds fantastic. Yeah. What are we
Yeah.
getting into in today's episode, Aubrey?
So it's interesting you asked me that question. Are you doing anything fun this weekend? Because you're asking me about the future,
I
but you're
know.
using the present
Present.
tense.
Yeah, that's kind of confusing, right?
Yeah. And we do this all the time. So we
All
got a
the time.
great question about this. I'm excited to dive into it. Do you want to read the question for us, Lindsay?
Yes, here we go. This is from Asami. Hi, Lindsay, Michelle, and Aubrey. I'm Asami from Tokyo, Japan. I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for creating such an amazing show and for answering my questions before. Well, thank you, Asami, for sending in your questions. We
Yes,
love
and
it.
thank you for that. I love that.
Yes. When my questions were answered, I couldn't help but jump with excitement and tell the people around me. I love that. That's
I have
fantastic.
felt that way. I've sent questions into podcasts, and I'm so
And they
excited to
answered them?
extend it to everyone I
Wow.
know. Yes, like, "Oh,
I've never
look."
That's great. I've never
It's
sent a
fun.
question to a podcast. I should
You
start
haven't?
doing it. That's
Yes,
so
you
cool.
should.
Today, I have another question since I couldn't find an episode about this. I'm not sure how to use the future continuous tense correctly. I heard the following sentences on your show before, and I'm not sure why they use the future continuous instead of the simple future tense. So, for example, she heard, I don't think I will be spending much time with her. We will be closing the office today. Hopefully, the sun will be shining there. I would really appreciate if you guys could clarify the difference between the future tense and the future continuous tense. Love you guys. Best, Asami.
Such
Wonderful.
a great
So good.
question. Yes, and I
Yes.
have a feeling listening to this question that all of our listeners out there are like, "Yes, I have also
Yes.
wondered that," or there's a light bulb moment here. We're like,
Oh,
"Yes, I
yeah.
wanna know." This is
Oh,
great.
absolutely. So we are all here ready for the answer, and we're not gonna not only give you the answer, but we're gonna talk about what it means for connection, which we do in all of our episodes. We bring everything back to connection, not perfection, human connection. So if you love our style, which is a little different than your average podcast, go ahead and hit the follow button right now on the show. Right, Aubrey?
Exactly, right? You don't wanna miss any of these awesome episodes, grammar, vocab, lots of strategies and tips, but all about how you can use it to connect in English.
Exactly. All right, so let's go straight to our answer for Asami and all of our other listeners. Aubrey, where do we start today?
Yeah, so we are going to share the three most common ways that we talk about the future: future simple and future progressive or future continuous, which Asami mentioned, and also present progressive, which we also use a lot to actually talk about the future. So
Yeah.
let's dive in first with future simple.
Okay. So usually native or sometimes native speakers will prefer this over the future progressive tense. Why, Aubrey?
Well, because it is more flexible and versatile. So,
Yeah.
especially if you are talking about actions that will occur
Mhm.
at a specific time, you will be limited. You can't use the future progressive. So, for
Right.
often, if you need a default, future simple is what you want. If you're talking about future plans, predictions, spontaneous decisions. So, let's give a
Yeah.
few examples when we would use the future simple.
Okay. We'll see what happens. Right? Dot dot dot.
Right. This is sort of a prediction. Like we wouldn't say we'll be seeing what happens, right? We're using the
No.
present simple for this. It's more of a general, true statement about the future.
Or they'll meet us at the restaurant at 7. Good. Okay.
Yeah. And this is
Straightforward, right?
exactly right. Pretty straightforward. If in doubt, usually future simple is going to be your go-to. It's more flexible than future progressive.
All right, but then moving into future progressive, we do have a lot of options, Aubrey, when it comes to the
We
future.
really do.
Yeah.
Yes. And we use future progressive a ton. All of those examples Asami gave, we use them for situations where an action will be ongoing at a certain point in
Mm.
the future. And this
Mhm.
is often done to emphasize the duration of the action.
Okay, so for example, I don't think I'll be spending much time with her. So talking about an ongoing action or lack of action in this case, right?
Right. And if you think about, you could use future simple and say, I don't think I will spend much time with her. But
Mhm.
instead, we use future progressive to emphasize that that would be an ongoing action.
Mhm. Or we will be closing the office today. Now, this is at an unspecified time. If it's
Mhm.
specified, how would it change?
Yeah. So because we're not specifying the time, we're sort of talking in general about the day. We will be closing today. But if you give a time, you make it specific, that's when you'd need the future simple. We will close the office at 5 p.m. Now,
Mm.
the trick here is native speakers often will still use
Yeah,
future progressive here, right? We'd still maybe
definitely.
say, we will be closing at 5 p.m. today. So
Mhm.
this is a little bit no rhyme or reason. Both are
Yeah.
accepted. Often when you're talking about the future, it's not so much about right or wrong. It's about what feels right to someone based on their regional dialect, based on what they're used to hearing.
Yeah, I mean, as sometimes thinking about something that is solidified as a plan in the future, right? We'll be closing today at 5. Definitely, I feel like native speakers say that. It's something that's a little more planned ahead in a sense, don't you think, Aubrey? Versus, oh, I think we'll close today at 5. A little bit more spontaneous, right?
Yes, interesting. The spontaneity of it often will also affect which verb tense we choose.
Okay, what's another example for future progressive?
So this one's interesting, you might say, and this was these are Asami's examples. So kind of talking about why we would choose future progressive there. The third
Mhm.
one was hopefully the sun will be shining there because
Yeah,
it's an ongoing action, right? The sun wouldn't
right.
just shine for a moment and then be done, likely.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is definitely correct to use future progressive. Of course, future simple would work as well. Hopefully
Mhm.
the sun will shine while we're in Mexico,
I
but
hope so,
future
yeah.
progressive also works because it's an ongoing action.
Yeah, and maybe it's the base of another sentence, like, "Hopefully, the sun will be shining when we arrive there," you could say, right?
Right,
So
because 'cause
it's
you're
the
making it a
ongoing action.
continued action. Yes.
Love that. Okay, then there's still another choice. There is still a third option.
Exactly, like what
Right?
you used when you asked me about the upcoming weekend, we use the present progressive really often to talk about the future, especially to ask someone about the future. So
Mhm.
we often, if we're asking about plans or arrangements that will
Yes.
occur in the future and are definite, and especially in casual conversations, we'll use present
Right.
progressive.
This one also feels to me to be the most casual, the most
Definitely.
conversational, wouldn't you say? Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Mhm.
Casual, conversational, especially if you're trying to create that connection between people. You don't
Mhm.
want to create a wall of formality. We'll often
Right.
do this, just use present progressive to be really friendly and build that connection.
Ooh, I love what you just said, a wall of formality. That's really an interesting term, right? To think about, to imagine for our listeners. We don't want to be creating that. You're right. And that's why we look at the most connected phrases. And this is probably the recommendation out of these three options, right? So,
Absolutely.
are you doing anything fun this weekend? Right? Again,
Right,
just like at the
or
top of the show.
yeah, what have you got going on later, right? These are actually
So
in
casual.
present progressive. They're so friendly, casual. So it's interesting how you definitely will see native speakers use future progressive, also future simple. But if you start paying attention to language, especially questions about what someone's doing in the near future, they're
Mhm.
likely, if they're trying to build that connection and be less formal and more friendly, they might use present progressive.
Wow, super interesting how our grammar choices can have a major effect on how well connected we become, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, Aubrey, let's see this in a role play here, all these different options. So here we are discussing our weekend plans. There you go.
Perfect. I'll start us out. Hey,
Okay.
Lindsay, what are you doing this weekend?
I'm meeting my cousin on Saturday. We're going to a concert. What about you?
I'll be visiting my grandparents on Sunday.
Oh, fun. Where do they live?
They live near the coast, so I'll probably spend some time at the beach too.
Do you stay with them when you visit?
No, we'll stay at my cousin's place.
Nice. All right. So here, I think we probably used all of the options,
Yes, we
right,
did.
Aubrey? Yeah. All right. So let's break it down.
All
Yes.
right. So I first asked, what are you doing this weekend using the present progressive? And there
Hmm.
is that wall of formality. It's slight, but it's there. If I say,
Yeah.
what will you be doing this weekend? Or what will you do this weekend? Because it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
formal enough of a structure that I'm creating formality between us.
Yep. So we take kind of, if we imagine we're facing someone, we take one step back in terms of distance, in terms of not being as connected. And there is a time and a place for that, right? Sure.
Exactly, because the relationship might be more formal. If you're asking a
Hmm.
supervisor, a boss, or someone you don't know well about their weekend plans,
Right.
then you might opt for future simple or future progressive. None of them are grammatically wrong, but it's
Right.
really interesting to think about the effect on the what you're implying about the relationship you have.
Exactly. And then I answered with present progressive. So I said, I'm
Mm.
meeting my cousin on Saturday. We're going to a concert. Mhm.
Right. So I'm meeting my cousin,
Yeah.
and it's interesting. We can say I will meet my cousin, right? We could use future simple, but we'll often opt for present progressive as well. Again, to create this informality, not
Yeah.
grammatically incorrect to use one of these other future tenses, but you're sort of bringing me with you to talk about
Yeah.
what you'll be doing and making it present progressive.
I guess not grammatically incorrect, but a little weird if we say, I will meet my cousin on Saturday. It feels, like we said,
Very
overly
formal.
formal, the wall of formality. It feels not appropriate for the conversation. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
really
Yeah.
interesting. Or the "we're going to a concert," right? We will go
Yeah.
to a concert. We will be going to a concert. They're not grammatically wrong, but it's interesting. They're quite a bit more formal for a conversation.
Yes. Yes. All right. And then you said, I'll be visiting my parents on Sunday. Now we're using the future progressive. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, interesting. And you could use present progressive. I could say, "Oh, I'm visiting my grandparents on Sunday."
Totally.
Even more
Mhm.
informal. But,
Yes.
this is especially future progressive isn't that much more formal, right? It's definitely not incorrect, which is
Yeah.
why it's tricky for all of you out there listening when you hear native speakers use all of these different tenses that
Yeah.
can be confusing. But it's interesting to think about. You don't want to just think about what's grammatically correct when you're thinking about why a native speaker would choose which one.
Right.
Maybe it's about the formality.
Yeah, I mean, for our listeners, you all are ready for that. You're at that level,
Yes.
B2, C1, maybe high B1. You're ready to move beyond what's grammatically correct. You already know that to some extent. And now what brings you closer to connection, right?
Yes. And so here, present progressive isn't much more formal. I can say, I'll be visiting my grandparents instead of I'm visiting my grandparents, but it would sound quite formal to use future simple, right? I
Yeah.
will visit my grandparents on Sunday. Even though I'm
Yeah.
defining when on Sunday, it still is
Hmm.
quite formal to use future simple here.
Yeah. I don't like the future simple here. I don't know. It just, I just
When we're
don't like
talking
it.
about, yeah, future plans that are near and that are going to happen for an extended period of time, it sounds a little strange to use future simple.
But when we think about things that are spontaneous, like we
Mm,
mentioned, or unexpected, we do flip in to the future simple. So here we said they live near the coast. You asked me if where they live. You said they live near the coast, so I'll probably spend some time at the beach. Probably usually goes with future simple, doesn't it, Aubrey?
exactly, right? Because this is spontaneous plans might or might not happen, right? So you could say, I'll probably be spending some time at the
Yeah.
beach, but you
Hmm.
can definitely use future simple here for these, hypothetical potential and spontaneous actions. I'll spend some time. So I will spend some time. I'll probably spend some time.
And then what did I say after that?
And you asked, do you stay with them when you visit? So present progressive here. Could also say, are you staying with them while you're there, right? You could use present continuous, both very interchangeable here.
Right. And this is more about habits, right? We're not even talking about this time. We're saying in general, every time you stay with them, every time you visit them, do you stay with them or do you stay in a hotel? Right.
That's a really good point because then that does change the meaning a little bit. If you are talking more about every time you go, it makes more sense to use present progressive. If you're
Right.
asking about this time, then present or then future progressive might
Right.
make more
And
sense.
and I kind of answered a different question. So you in my mind, I asked you about on a repetitive basis, every time you go, do you stay with them? But you answered about this time.
So
Don't you
yeah, this
think?
is interesting. And I think this happens a lot in conversations,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Where
Yeah.
sometimes because there's ambiguity in the tense,
Mhm.
they might misunderstand what you asked, right? I kind of
Right.
answered a different question. I was sort of answered as if you were asking about this trip. And
Yes.
then you could clarify and be like, do you always stay there? Or is that what you always do? Or you could just let it go.
Right, exactly. So either way, we do understand each other, but sometimes native speakers don't answer the question you ask, and that would be a great episode too.
Yeah, that's a
Probably,
good
right?
point.
Yeah.
Should you say something or should you let it go? That's
Um,
interesting.
Interesting. Aubrey, what does this mean for connection? What's our takeaway today?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, we don't just stick to future simple. We
Mhm.
use future simple, future progressive, and even present progressive, especially if we want to be more friendly, more informal when we're talking to in casual conversation.
Yes, we've gotten our money's worth today for sure. Heavy hitting grammar episode. I love it. Guys, remember the wall of formality. Like Aubrey said, seek to find that connection. Depending on the scenario, can you be even more casual? If the scenario merits it, can you use the right kind of grammar at the right time?
Yes,
right?
that's often the best way to build connection. If your
Mm-hmm.
grammar and your vocabulary can bring down that wall of formality and
Mm-hmm.
create a more friendly, more casual connection.
Love it. So good, guys. Hit the follow button if you love our style. Connection, not perfection. Aubrey, I'll see you soon.
Yep. See you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.